From the 28-yard line of Auburn. Bama going left to right. Bryce gets the snap, knee high. Looks, throws the fade route, near side end zone. Got it! Caught! Touchdown, Alabama! Caught by Ja'Cory Brooks in the end zone.
And Chris Davis takes it in the back of the end zone. He'll run it out to the 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 45. There goes Davis! Oh my God! Davis is going to run it all the way back! Auburn's going to win the football game! Auburn's going to win the football game!
And Alabama has come from nowhere to defeat the Auburn Tigers in multiple overtimes.
As Chance drinks his porridge, episode 5, Tide and Tigers, welcome. We have a big layoff. There's a lot to go over. Our biggest layoff of the season so far, but it was Christmas. Hope everybody had a Merry Christmas and Santa brought you everything you wanted. Chance, did Santa come see you? Or?
Yeah, Santa came and my daughter got to come up here and spend the weekend with us, so that was pretty much the best gift.
Well, that's awesome. So, yeah, the kids were rocking and rolling. I think all I saw was just paper flying in the air, and all the boys had a blast. So, yeah, Santa was very good to everybody in our family, and I hope everybody had a Merry Christmas. But
what was the go-to Christmas movie of the house?
Home Alone's always the go-to Christmas. Home Alone 1 and then 2, and I think that's one of the few movies, throw Lord of the Rings in there, that sequels are at Dark Knight. The sequel is just as good as the original. And those, Mighty Ducks 2 is another one I like to throw in there, but very few sequels are as good. Home Alone's one of those. My favorite now has become Christmas Vacation. It wasn't, but the older I get, the more I get more of the Chevy Chase jokes. I actually get another one every year. But yeah, those are my go-to. What about you?
Ours ended up being the two girls in the house, Harry Potter. They like to go through the Harry Potter movies, and I'm like, that's not a Christmas movie. Just because they experience a whole year of school and Christmas is one part of it doesn't make it a Christmas movie. But whatever.
It's like the Die Hard, or like I think Batman was in a Christmas at one point. The Penguin one,
the Batman Returns.
Yeah.
But no, it was actually funny looking into that. The first two Harry Potter movies, which are the more Christmassy, were made by the guy who did Home Alone.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Actually, let me pull that up.
So while he's pulling it up, I also saw the Home Alone house was like $7.8 or $8.4 million. It's
just
like a basketball
exterior,
court.
Though. The exteriors from the movie, everything was built in a gym, and that house is amazing.
It's got a basketball court in it now.
Yeah.
So, all right. So while Chance is pulling that up about Home Alone, we'll get to. We have a lot to cover. Yeah, like I said, we've had the big layoff for Christmas. A lot's happened. I guess while you're pulling that, I'll do the non-relevant Tulane and Florida.
Chris Columbus, director, did
So
Harry Potter's, all those, and he did Home Alone.
Wow. Shout out to him. He's made a lot of good movies for a lot of good people.
And he used a lot of the same people for music, John Williams.
Yeah.
And that's why you get a lot of the same sounds through those movies. So, learned a lot.
Yeah. All right, so the first game we would want to open is on the Friday night after we got done showing. Was Florida Tulane was that DJ Lagway struggled in the red zone. You could still see the hamstring was bothering. Throws for 300 yards. Florida dominates the game. I know Tulane didn't have their quarterback. I expect a lot of big things from the Gators going forward. Napier keeps his job, a top 10 recruiting class. They finished the season 8-5 with the toughest schedule in the country. Chance, what would your over-under be of wins next year? It was 4 this year for Florida, and they got 8. What would your over-under be next year for the Gators, returning their starting quarterback, their starting running back, 2-3 top 10 receivers, their number 1 receiver is getting back from injury, defense a lot's coming back. What would be the over-under on wins next year for the Gators?
I mean, you got to remember it's the SEC still, and we're basing this off of the transfer portal not being finished yet.
Yeah.
So I would say with how they surprised everybody at 8-5, I would say they probably have another 8-win season in them at the most.
I think the over/under is going to be 9.
Okay.
So I'll
take the under.
So I think 8 wins next year would be a failed season for Florida, especially with all that's leaving the SEC. I know Sellers in South Carolina will be good. Arch in Texas will be good. Bama and Georgia will always be good. But Diego will be back for Vanderbilt, but Florida doesn't play Vanderbilt. So I don't think Florida plays South Carolina either. So I think Florida has a good draw. I think Jackson Dart's leaving, so they play Ole Miss. So I think the Gators will win 10, 11 games next year. That's my prediction. So, but that was kind of one of the irrelevant games of bowl season, especially with Tulane not having their quarterback. But let's jump right into the playoffs.
Do we know y'all's schedule coming in?
This posted, but it's pretty much the reverse of this year. So the SEC didn't change much. They just reversed this year to where you're playing the team
at their stadium. Okay,
yes.
well then if that's the case, I would say
Miami losing Cam Ward. I think that's going to be a win at Miami. I think they'll win. I think they're not playing Sanford. I think they're going to win.
Texas A&M's going to be better.
That. So you count that as maybe a loss. Mississippi State they're going to win. UCF they're going to win.
Yes, Tennessee will be worse.
At home.
I think.
At home.
You think Tennessee's going to be better this coming year?
I don't know. They didn't. We will talk about their game in a little bit.
Yeah.
Kentucky.
They'll be better, but it's still going to be a win for Florida, most likely.
Georgia and Texas. I mean, look at it. I mean, it's
Georgia
just such a gauntlet down the stretch.
You know, Texas is going to be a number 1 and number 2 for the next
8 wins may be, like you said, eight wins, but a better team.
I'm Miss without Dart.
Yeah, I'm going to say 10 or 11. So, and that's going to be. I think over under will be 9.
And you know that Florida State game is going to be an easy one.
At home too. So, but yeah, Gators wrapped up I think a successful 8-5 season, and they had a couple of games they could have won too. But let's move on to the playoffs, the real teams that matter.
Yeah.
Friday night was the game between Indiana and Notre Dame. Blowout from start to finish. I think there's some games that one play changes games. Indiana gets the early interception, and then they're going to score, and they throw another interception back to Notre Dame. And Notre Dame, Jeremiah Love takes it 98 yards, longest run in Notre Dame history for a touchdown. And the whole momentum of the game, Notre Dame, that atmosphere, the first real playoff game we got to see on a home campus, that place was electric.
Yeah.
And, to me, like that was incredible to watch. But I think that one play really vamped the crowd up. I know you see that sometimes a big play early in the game, especially a home game, really gets the crowd going. I think it did. They cruised in that game. I know late Indiana scored, got an onside kick and scored again, but Notre Dame dominated that game. Yeah. What do you think about it?
Well, I mean, you see that it was, like you said, Notre Dame dominated the game all the way into the end of the third quarter. That's when Indiana was like, okay, we got to get some garbage time points. Made it look a little better on the scoreboard, but no, it was a whooping.
So Indiana played 2 top 25 teams this year, lost both games. Obviously, their coach, talked a lot in the season about, Google me, I win, Google me this, 11-2 still an incredible season. He's still the coach of the year. Indiana, nobody expect him to be in the playoffs. So still hats off to Indiana on a great season.
Well, Indiana's only going to improve because they're always going to be a top basketball school.
Yeah.
Well, now the NIL is a thing, and players might even get more opportunities to play 2 sports coming up. So you're about to start seeing possibly some 6'6" tight ends coming out and stuff from basketball to football. Indiana's going to be one of the top 20 schools in the next 5 years.
And I wonder that because it seems like outside of Ohio State and Penn State and Michigan, remember Purdue was good a couple of years ago and beat Ohio State, and now Purdue can't win a game.
Yeah.
Is Indiana going to be one of those Big Ten teams that has a good year and then falls off for the next couple of years?
Where did Purdue's coach go after their best seasons? Did he stay or did he leave?
I think he left.
So that I would say that's Indiana's future.
And Purdue just got a new head coach too. They got to give guy Barry Odom from UNLV, he's been around the block a few times. But
so yeah, if Indiana's coach stays in town at Indiana, then they'll have a good future. But
I think he will. He's older too. He's in his 60s, I believe. So I don't think he's going to go bounce around somewhere else. And the Big Ten is one of the 2 big power conferences, in my opinion. So I think he stays. I think they'll be good again. But yeah, I'd be interested to see if they have another good year, back-to-back solid good year. So. Yeah. But very impressed with Notre Dame, offense and defense. It's continued. This is a couple of good games in a row. I mean, they're on a 7, 8 game winning streak chance. We'll talk about their game later against Georgia, but I'm very impressed by Notre Dame. All right, we'll start with Saturday. It starts with Penn State SMU, complete domination, 2 pick sixes. I think you texted me in the middle of the game and was like, Jennings thinks he's Manziel out here. SMU, a lot of people gave them criticism, thought Bama, Ole Miss, South Carolina should have been in the game. 38-10's the final. Penn State looks strong, even after the loss to Oregon. That's a really good football team. James Franklin has them rolling, but Jennings, the 3 interceptions, obviously 2 of them going back for touchdowns. I think that was the real big difference in the game early on, but you had to be impressed with Penn State.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I had SMU for the upset and the whole tournament. I was hoping they were going to ride that Cinderella story. I did not. This whole season, Penn State has surprised me.
Yeah.
Every week, I expect them to not deliver, and I've bet against them a lot of those times. They have surprised me enough to be 12-2 and beat me probably 8 games out of the season.
Wow.
So SMU definitely did not deliver, like you said. He was trying to do too much Lamar Manziel stuff back there. Jennings was trying to win the game himself, which I thought would have been the solution for him the game before.
Yeah.
But he tried to throw the ball and they lost.
Yeah.
But
he played good against Clemson. He did.
He did, but that was kind of an opening to what Penn State had the capability of doing to them. And then Penn State beat them even worse.
Yeah. Again, another two sides of the ball effort. But there goes one side of the ACC championship game. The other side was the 2:30 game, Texas-Clemson. A really good game. Texas had an unbelievable second quarter. Obviously, Blue had the two big touchdown runs, 146 yards for him. But Texas just, man, it seems like every time they got it, they scored, and it really wasn't Quinn Ewers. It was running the football.
Yeah.
And Kay Kublik actually outplayed Quinn. I mean, he threw for 336 and 3 touchdowns. Quinn threw for 202, but I mean, two backs run for over 100 yards and 4 touchdowns combined.
Well, that tells you a lot when Clemson can't run the ball. A single runner didn't even clear 50 yards.
Yeah. And Wisner goes for 110. Blue goes for 146. 4 touchdowns combined. Clemson just couldn't stop the run. And again, I just they don't have athletes on defense. They don't have athletes on the outside. If you look back at the Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson years, they had those guys. Whether it was
Clinton Farrell or whatever his name was.
Yeah, but no, they had T. Higgins. They had Sammy Watkins, big time playmakers.
I thought you were talking about on defense.
On defense too, yeah. But they had good linebackers, and he's really missed on some guys, I think, in the recruiting class, and it showed. I mean, they lost 4 games this year. They did make the playoff, so Dabo, would probably consider this a successful year. But to me, when they go and face these teams with 5-star guys like Texas and Ohio State, and they have trouble every single time. And they did again when they played Texas.
So, like you said, in passing and everything, it looks like Cade outperformed Quinn Ewers. And I've said this all year, and that's why Ewers is probably interested in the transfer portal and not the NFL.
Yeah.
He is not a deep ball thrower.
No.
He is a screen, short pass, shuttle pass, everything short and underneath, design plays for athletes to get the ball and do something down the field. And if you look at all their receivers, that's pretty much how it goes. TJ Moore for Clemson had 9 receptions for 116. There's not a single receiver from Texas that had over 100 yards.
Well, and your point too is that Sarkisian is one of the best OCs, offensive minds in the game. He's going to play to what his quarterback can do.
Yes.
You saw what he did with Mac Jones that year they went undefeated. The designs and the things he did. So he's probably not, with the way Texas is playing right now, again, they dominated Georgia in that SEC championship game and lost because they couldn't do anything inside the 20-yard line. But, they're going to have a chance to win it all. I'm just telling you, they have the talent. I think it rides on. Quinn's going to have to make some plays down the stretch for them to get through these next couple rounds. So I think you agree with that too. And he's going to have to hit some balls down the field.
Yes, but I think that it's going to come down to him not being able to, and Arch is going to have to come save the season. And I mean,
you've been calling Arch coming to save the season. I'll be interested if it happens.
I already know Arch is going to be the QB next year. Ewers is out somewhere. Yeah. Whether it's the NFL or transfer portal, he's gone.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, I can see him, if he gets injured to the point where he's like, I just want to save myself, I can see him stepping down and letting.
Wow. All right, so last game of the night, probably the worst game. Ohio State crushes Tennessee, 42-17.
The SEC is a joke right now, along with the ACC in these bowl games.
But we just said Texas just won, so they are. Remember, they got to forget that. I know that's hard to remember because
that's the ACC. They're both jokes at this point.
But yeah, Tennessee. I mean, my gosh, Nico only throws for 104 yards. He gives the whole LeBron pose when they cut it to 7 at halftime. I'm thinking, okay, here's Tennessee going to rally. Too much Jeremiah Smith, the freshman, probably the freshman of the year in football. Some say he would be a top 5 draft pick right now if he came out as a freshman. That's how good this kid is. 2 touchdowns, 103 yards, set the tone. Will Howard bounced back after the bad game against Michigan. Ohio State looked like a team that can win the national championship. Completely dominates. Again, all 4 home teams win. All 4 home teams win by double digits. The atmospheres were incredible at all 4 campuses. I loved it. I just wish the games would have been a little bit better.
Yeah.
And people are going to look back and say maybe SMU, maybe Indiana shouldn't have been in these games. It should have been Alabama, South Carolina. I think they would have been better games, but Alabama didn't do enough to make the playoffs. And those players shouldn't be rewarded for losing the games they lost.
Yeah.
These other teams, they had better years. Whether the competition was better or not, I just hated to see how the games turned out. They weren't good games that first quarter. The 12 team round. I mean, I know you would agree with that too. So
I would, but it's also I'm at the point where I do want these games to play out with some of these teams that probably don't have the records to demand they deserve to be there.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they will get the upset. It's
Yeah.
just football.
Well-
But every playoff for the past 10 years, there have been ass whooping after ass whooping.
Very true.
For some rounds.
yes, very true. But I think too, though, the seeding messed this up. If Arizona State and Boise State were properly seeded instead of, sorry,
You're good.
if Arizona State and Boise State were properly seeded, and they were maybe playing Clemson and SMU, I think you would have gotten better games. Both those teams weren't in the top 15, but they got automatic bids because they won their conference. So I think if those teams would have played and Texas and maybe Ohio State would have gotten the buys, I think it would have been a little bit different, and you'd have seen the little guys play each other to play the big guys.
And
Does that make sense at all?
It does. It might have come off better that way, but then it defeats the purpose of being the top seed.
And little guy playing the big guy and getting a chance too.
Well, that of me thinking also, who wants to be number one seed if you're not getting that bye or
Very
that
true.
easy opponent? If you're the number one seed and you're having to play the number 3 seed, that's not fun.
But it's going to come into a thing of like if the Big 12 is getting automatic seed and their conference champion has 4 losses, how do they get a bye? When you may have a game where Georgia plays Alabama and the loser has only 1 loss and they're not going to get a bye, and yet they're way better than a 4-loss team that won the crappy ACC. If you know what I'm saying, it just that may have to change the seeding wise on who gets the buys, because it is a big deal, because you've said injuries are going to plague, and we'll talk about later in our predictions, it already has played. There's somebody big time going to be missing a game because of an injury. So
I had something. Never mind. Keep going.
all right, so we'll move into this week. We'll start with Christmas Day. NFL goes out and competes with the NBA. You saw LeBron push him back. Christmas Day is our day. 2 games. Both
Netflix.
on Netflix.
Which they actually did good this time.
They did good, but the games were stinkers.
Yes.
Chiefs beat the Steelers 29-10. Best record in 15-1. Best record in football. Best record in most wins in Chiefs history. You saw the team after the game. Mahomes and Kelsey coming in the Santa outfits. Andy Reid coming dressed as Santa Claus, coming out with the ball with the elf. I hate to say this, but the camaraderie on that team.
Oh yeah,
they know they're good, but
they're having fun.
They're having fun. You think a team looking to three-peat, like the Bulls did? Every year you hear about Jordan when he retired both times. The third year was this grueling year. You saw with Florida trying to do their third year. Tebow, every win. This team seems different. They're having fun. Is that coaching with Andy Reid? Is that the players?
Well, you've always heard Andy Reid's a great coach and a player's coach, and he has fun with them. But no, I think it's more of the players. You got to see the personalities. You got Mahomes. You've got Travis Kelce. You've got a bunch of the defensive players that are all buddies with the offensive players too. It's not just sides of the ball hanging out and stuff. It's interesting.
You want to hate this team, but you can't. They're just really good, and they just always find a way to win, whether it's luck or not. You gotta respect. I mean, they're going for a three-peat and they're having fun doing it. That's pretty cool to see, and I love seeing that scene at the end of the game.
Oh yeah, and then seeing Kelsey give respect to Tony Gonzalez after the breaking his record with the dunk over the goalpost.
And they don't seem cocky in any way. You know what I'm saying? You would think they talk better, or you see some of the college coaches, they don't really go about it. Mahomes doesn't go about it that way. They take one game at a time. And so he gave the respects to Gonzalez with the dunk. He didn't dunk it quite like Tony did, but
not quite like, but he still got that penalty.
yeah. So in the second game, this Ravens team is incredible. Lamar is MVP favorite, maybe. We'll talk about Joey B later, but crushed the Texans. Texans lose Tank Dell for the year again.
Jeez.
What do you think is going through D'Amico's head right now going into – this is a playoff team, and you just played somebody that you may see in the playoffs, and they just put their hand on your throat. What do you think of that game?
We knew that was going to happen with the Ravens this year. Having King Henry coming there and running the ball behind Lamar, you have no answer for that, no matter what team you are. If you can stop Lamar and be one of the few teams that could for the past years, you aren't going to be able to stop Henry the entire game either. So the Texans – great offensive team this year, but obviously not this game against the Ravens D.
Pull the stats on NFL.
Which was even more surprising to me that they didn't score that much against the Ravens D.
And to me, Lamar breaks the rushing record, accounts for 3 touchdowns.
Wrong week.
Yeah. So it just, to me,
There it is.
they just can hit you in so many different ways. Andrew has a big catch, leads him for a touchdown. It just, I don't see how they've lost 5 games. Every time I watch this team, but it seems to me is when the Ravens play a team like the Chiefs or the Bills.
Well, if you look at those losses, look at the scores.
I mean, they beat the Bills 35-10, beat them like a drum. But the Eagles, I don't know how they lost to the Browns, but the Chiefs, the Eagles, the Raiders, how did they lose that game?
The Browns, wasn't that the Jameis?
That was the Jameis game,
So
yes.
that was the Jameis coming out and surprising everybody
Yes,
type
yes.
game. You can't win against fate. You can't do that.
I want to see Lamar beat big time competition. Eagles, Chiefs, Bills. They beat the Bills earlier this year. Let's see how he does in there. I'm not declaring them Super Bowl champions yet, but you got to think they're one of the favorites.
And a lot of these you can see are are defensive coaching as well. Like you've got teams like the Broncos with Bo Nix being possibly Rookie of the Year and all that, only putting up 10 points. So when you're not scoring against the Ravens, Lamar's going to do his thing and he's going to put up more points, and that's how they separate.
Well, that's when and they're also not. Again, a lot of these Chiefs games they have to play from behind,
Yes.
and he's got to throw the ball. When they're ahead, they just run the ball with that 2-headed monster. Good luck.
But again, with him throwing the ball, I think he's got the best passer rating or something.
Oh yeah, he's been incredible. He's been absolutely incredible.
So even when he has to throw the ball, it's great. But
Yeah.
he doesn't have all the players around him that he used to as a receiver either.
Well, look, I'm gonna get to this Thursday night game. It's not really much to talk about. Another non-touchdown game.
Oh my gosh, there's 2
Bears and Seahawks.
2 this season so far.
That may have been one of the worst games I've ever watched. The other game I think was at least entertaining between the Rams and I don't even know who they played.
The Cardinals.
Cardinals. No, they're not the Cardinals.
No, not
but the
that.
other non-touchdown game.
Oh, that was last week.
Yeah, it was the Rams played. But
It was,
look, they're saying
the Rams was
who-
the Jets.
The Jets.
No, that's
No,
19-9. There's no way.
it was maybe the week before that. So, anyways,
No, it had to be last week.
no, it was a week before that because the Rams were definitely in it. The 49ers. That's what it was.
That's who it was.
Yeah, the rainy game in San Francisco. Yeah, it was a week before that.
Which was?
It was week 15. Yep. It was 12-6.
12-6.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was the more entertaining game than what we saw on Thursday night.
Yeah.
They're saying this is maybe the best rookie quarterback class ever.
Well, I can see that.
Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix.
Yeah.
Drake May's not doing bad with New England. They're not very good. They're not good. They're not a good team.
Yeah.
But he's done well. You got Penix Jr. finally coming on with the Falcons. I know it's late.
Well, and
he looks dang good
He
though.
had 2 turnovers last night.
He can spin it though, man. He can spin it.
He can. I saw a weakness again that I noticed in his championship games, or not championship, bowl games last year, the playoff games. He cannot throw the balls accurately to the right side of the field. For some reason, he overthrows his receivers or throws them too far outside.
You know what I was gonna say
What?
is when he gets sacked, he fumbles a lot. They recovered.
Interesting.
But he has a very big tendency. Being a lefty is a little bit different. Your blind side's on a different side.
Yep.
But he gets hit. When he usually gets hit, he fumbles.
Yeah.
So that's not a good. And they recovered both of them. But yeah, Caleb Williams was the #1 draft pick. I wouldn't take him over any of those quarterbacks.
Well,
not May, not Daniels, not Penix, not Bo. I'm sorry, I wouldn't.
So I do think that
You can't say he's got DJ Moore. He's got Keenan Allen.
I'm not
He's
saying
got
he doesn't have the
DeAndre
weapons.
Swift, man.
I'm gonna throw out the coaching. at
Oh,
this
okay,
point.
coaching. Okay.
Because when we look at teams like the Panthers for the past 10 years, look at the Panthers. They had Andy Dalton. They had Baker Mayfield. They had
Sam Darnold.
Sam Darnold.
Two guys in the top 5 quarterbacks in the league, top 10 quarterbacks in the league, and they were sitting on the bench.
And they were sitting on the bench, and when they did play, they were put in horrible situations by their staff.
That's a good point.
So when they go to better teams and better coaching, not just better players,
Yeah.
sometimes not even better players,
Yeah.
but better coaching, they flourish. And when you start to see that, maybe the Bears needs to get revamped like Washington, because
Yeah.
Washington went through that same problem.
Well, you saw the GM. He has done an amazing job of getting picks and getting rid of guys and getting a lot for them. They have every bit of offensive firepower, but again, I'm just telling you this. I don't think he's the guy. I just don't.
No, I don't either.
Not when I see Jaden Daniels, not when I see a little bit of Penix, not when I see it from Bo. I don't see it from this guy.
Well, then you've got the Giants who win and take themselves out of the running for the #1 draft pick to get Shador. So now
We'll get to that
what's
in a
going
minute.
on with that?
We're only on Thursday. Don't jump ahead to Sunday. Let's go to Friday.
Oh, yeah. I'm too eager. I'm sorry.
Friday was a really good bowl day.
Yeah, it was.
We'll start out with Navy, Oklahoma. Horvath and Navy continue. They got down 14-0. Come back. He has a 95-yard run to tie the game. They swap touchdowns at the end. Oklahoma scores, and they go for 2. We hear so much about go for 2 at the end, go for 2 at the end. They go for 2 and don't get it. And Navy beats Oklahoma. The same Oklahoma team, I may tell you, that beat Alabama. Like, seeing that call again, Chance, do you think it's the right thing to go for 2 in the timing of, what do you think all goes into that?
I mean, in these situations, I do think it's the bowl game. You do what you got to do to win. I want to say the coach even said something like that. That was why he called it, because he told his players he wouldn't go for it in those situations. But, I mean, Oklahoma Navy, you just don't see that that's going to be that close of a game. You don't think that. You think if it is, it's going to be a low-scoring game.
Yeah.
Not Navy putting up 21.
Well, Oklahoma goes 6-7 this season. This is the same Oklahoma team in the 2000s, and when Baker and Jalen, they're playing for playoffs, they're playing for national championships. They're 6-7. Hawkins will return as a quarterback next year, but now they're in the SEC. They did get the big win over Bama this year, but it wasn't the Bama national championship type team. So, you know, I'm selling my Oklahoma stock right now.
I wouldn't.
Okay, so you think they're going to be better next year?
Only because I a little bit of research the other day. Belichick was so high on the Washington State quarterback. Well, hold on, I got his name.
Cam Ward or the one from this year?
No, the one from this year.
Okay.
The let's see.
Josh Mater?
Mater.
Yeah.
Josh Mater. That he had Brady, he had Gronk, all of them FaceTiming him, trying to convince him to come to UNC.
Okay.
So if Belichick believes in a quarterback that much, I wonder how good he really is with good team around him. And he ended up at Oklahoma because his quarterback coach is now the offensive coordinator.
Wow.
there.
Okay. Wow.
So
there's a chance for some insight right there.
Yes.
So I did not know that.
So I think Oklahoma is only going to improve. They need better linemen. They had no protection for their quarterback this year. So in order to survive in the SEC, they need better linemen. But they're building around a quarterback now that they know they can do something with.
Okay. All right. On to the next game. Birmingham Bowl. Shout out 205. Hometown. Vanderbilt, Georgia Tech. What a game that was. There was a lot of animosity in that game.
Oh, yeah, lots of
Brent Key
fisticuffs.
was on fire. The Birmingham boy coming back to his hometown. You know, to me, what a great game that was. Diego was incredible. Hayes King was incredible. It came down to me to one pass interference call.
Yeah, and that was a big one. And you saw how livid it made
Brent Key.
Brent Key, yeah.
3rd down and like 12 or whatever it was, they throw a back shoulder ball to the sideline and they call pass interference on a ball that wasn't going to be caught and he wasn't pass interfered with. Vanderbilt goes down and ends up scoring, going up 2 scores, and really, you know, put the icing on the cake of the game. It's amazing sometimes what one call, one play can do. But I thought that play, if Georgia Tech gets the ball back there, I think it's a different game and maybe a different outcome. But
I agree, and that scared me to death because as you saw in our messages and everything, I had Vanderbilt the whole way on that.
Yeah.
I thought with Diego Pavia coming back, he wanted to solidify himself in that game. And if you look, the QBR rating for Haynes and Pavia, Haynes is terrible.
yeah, he threw for 3 touchdowns. Like I said, it wasn't. I thought he had another fight. Just kind of.
Yeah.
He's just a quarterback that wills his team to win. But yeah, it wasn't. I'd say incredible. Or it wasn't his best game. It wasn't a game like Georgia, especially with Diego.
Yeah.
Going into next year, 5 touchdowns. He gets another year of eligibility. Is Vanderbilt have a chance to make the playoff with him? Do they have enough talent around? Can one quarterback at a school that can't recruit like Vanderbilt because of obvious academic reasons or whatever, can he will them to a playoff? Could Vanderbilt somehow sneak into an SEC championship game?
So I think Vanderbilt's going to have to do what they did for Diego. They got him out of transfer portal. That's the only way Vanderbilt's going to achieve anything. You're not going to get a bunch of incoming freshmen for, like you said, academic purposes and all that. They're going to have to pull specific players for positions to be able to survive in the SEC. I do not see them winning more than 8 games.
So, again, even with a good quarterback, okay. Yeah, so they finished the season at 7-6, 8-5. I would say their win total next year will be 8 wins. But again, he'll be maybe the best quarterback on paper, stats wise, coming back next year. Arch and DJ Lagway will be, and Sellers will be 3 of the younger guys coming in. But Diego has to be the number 1 quarterback coming in.
I don't know. Oklahoma's quarterback coming to Auburn.
Don't talk. No, I'm not talk.
We've got the best QB room in Auburn past 30 years or something. It said.
Yeah. All right, a couple quick notes on these other games. Holiday Bowl, Syracuse dominates Washington State. McCord 453 and 5 touchdowns. Is he possibly a first-round pick?
I don't know. I haven't watched Syracuse enough this year to actually make that distinction.
Well, they went 10-3 and. His numbers were gaudy. I mean, unbelievable. As good as Cam Ward's. And again, he was an Ohio State guy, and they chose the other transfer over him. And he had an incredible year. I think he's going to be a first-round pick, so that's something to keep an eye on. Liberty Bowl, Arkansas beats Texas Tech. That's 3 winning seasons now for Sam Pittman at Arkansas. What's it going to take to get them over the hump? It's a 7-6, a 7-6, and a 9-4. I think he's won 2 or 3 bowl games. What's going to get Arkansas over the hump in the SEC? Are they ever going to get over the hump? Remember the McFadden years and all those years we watched growing up? Is Arkansas ever going to get back to that level?
I don't think they'll have the thunder and lightning that they had when they had McFadden and what was the other running back for him?
Felix Jones.
Felix Jones. I don't think they're going to be that because we've got Auburn as the running back, Bama, who's even had better running backs the past 10 years in one room together.
Yeah.
I don't think Arkansas has that recruitment ability that it used to have.
Yeah. They got Jerry Jones as a backer. I'm telling you, I've been to Arkansas Stadium twice. They love their football out there. They love their football in Arkansas. And I'm telling you this right now. Like, they will do whatever they can to have a successful team. But 0-10, 0-11, whatever they were going a couple of years ago when they are they happy with going 7-6, 8-9-4? Like,
I'm sure this year, but they're a team that probably needs to switch over to the ACC. And they would have a winning record most seasons.
Yeah.
There. And
Arkansas brings a lot in baseball and basketball to the SEC.
True. Baseball for sure.
Yeah. All right.
Texas A&M.
The night game. I couldn't believe it. I went to sleep. A&M's up 24-7 against a team with a backup quarterback in USC that looks like they've just checked out. Miller Mall's out of the season. I tuned the next day. I'm like, holy, I just lost my parlay because A&M came back. They lost 35-30. So much for this Mike Elko defense. I mean, what?
Same thing happened to me.
What? I mean, shout out to Jaden Maivia. I don't know who you are, but the guy threw for 4 touchdowns. He also threw for 3 picks.
3 interceptions. Yeah. Granted, Marcel Reed threw for 3 touchdowns and 2 picks.
7 touchdowns and 5 picks combined, and almost an exact quarterback rating. What a game I fell asleep to because it ended up being a pretty good one. USC scores 21 in the fourth quarter to beat them. What the heck happened?
I don't know. Again, I think I was watching something completely different too that at the end of the night. So I have no idea how USC came back and won in the third and fourth, but it looks like the fourth quarter just was dominated by USC. 21-7 in the fourth. That's ridiculous.
Tell me this right here. A&M has more money than anybody in the SEC, maybe besides Texas or whatever, supposedly.
Debatable, but yes.
They get rid of Jimbo.
Military, yeah.
I think if you would have said since the Manziel years, with all the recruiting they've had, all the money pouring in, they've got nothing to show for it. No SEC championship. Missouri's been to 2. They've got no playoffs. They got a Heisman Trophy winner in Johnny.
Yeah.
And that's about it. Overall, Texas in the SEC, I think, has been,
Texas A&M's put a few good players into the NFL lately, too. So I think they're...
I mean, they beat Bama a couple times when they weren't supposed to, but, like, on paper, I think people have expected a lot more, especially from the money pouring in and the recruiting classes pouring in. And there's just an 8-5 year. Man, it hasn't impressed me, man.
How many games do we have to play SEC each season?
Like 8
or 9?
8 or 9, maybe 9 now.
Okay. So, with that being said, I don't see there being many more than 4 SEC teams every year that can win more than 8 games.
Is A&M or Arkansas ever going to be one of those teams? Or Vanderbilt?
A&M can again, yes. Vanderbilt, like I said, I don't think they win 8 games next year.
Yeah.
I think that would be the most if possible. Arkansas, I don't see them being that recruitment again.
Yeah.
I don't see them being able to be a top 6, a a 6-win, 7-win team every year.
Yeah.
I don't see that.
Yeah, I agree. So, all right, more games to get to. A lot of bowl games we got to cover. Iowa State, Miami. This game to me, you probably saw in the text how frustrated I was. Cam Ward looked incredible, and Miami's up 10 at halftime, and he sits out the second half after he breaks the NCAA record. I just don't get it. And then you watch your boys. I know it's the Pop-Tart Bowl, but the culture in Miami, they're fighting on the sidelines. Their quarterback's sitting out at halftime watching the team lose. I just don't get it, man. If you don't want to play, just don't play. But if you go play, break your individual record, and then leave the game, it's just not a good look to me. And especially when your team loses the game. If they win, it's all forgotten about. And the guy, he's an incredible player. I think he's the best quarterback coming out in the draft. I want him over Sanders all day. It just wasn't a good look to me.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. And it shows some of the aspects of the new NIL era and some of the aspects of, are these players really committed to a team at all, or are they just committed to individual recognition and making it to the pro level and becoming the next Patrick Mahomes or whoever? I think this showed a lot of the NFL teams that they don't need to put stock in Cam, that he's going to drop a lot on these picks.
Because, I think he will too, for sure.
Because they don't care about someone who isn't going to care about them.
Well, and the thing is too, I'll give you 3 different situations. Shedeur. His dad's coaching. He's been at Colorado 2 years, not the full 4 years. Played the whole game, even when they were getting their butt kicked. He's still in the game.
Yeah.
Bryce Young, Heisman Trophy winner, more than Cam. He plays in the bowl game, wins MVP. It's the Sugar Bowl. It wasn't even the playoffs, and he's still the number 1 pick.
Yep.
Cam sits out at half, but he's only been on campus for what, 6 to 8 months?
Yeah.
What is he? Miami? Miami.
He probably didn't even change his address.
He probably didn't. So that just tells you that's the NIL era to a T. This guy, what is his loyalty to Miami? He's been there 5-6 months.
Yeah.
Where these other guys, whether your dad's coaching or whether you've been with the school the whole entire time, look at the difference in what has happened with the quarterback's the most important part.
Yeah.
If a D lineman don't want to play or a linebacker, it is what it is. They're hitting guys every play.
Yeah.
But a quarterback, that changes the whole game for a team. But don't play a half and sit out the second half, man. We want to see you play.
Or we want to, see y'all win, cover the spread.
All right, other games really weren't, Colorado gets trounced, stopped by BYU. Sanders and Hunter last game, where do they go from here? I know they got the big-time quarterback coming in.
Which I didn't see that happening either.
Yeah.
I actually thought Colorado was going to make that
I did too. 36-14 is the final. They don't even score at the first half.
Yeah.
Hunter gets 106 yards. Again, if Genty goes off against Penn State, is that who they're playing? I think they're playing Penn State.
Yeah.
If he goes off, I say revote for Heisman. Because I just don't I don't know, man. Where does Deion go from here? He's losing his son. He's losing his best player, but losing both of his sons.
Well, he continues to coach and enjoy it. I think that's what he said he was going to do.
We said he was going to leave Colorado. You think he stays? I think he stays now, too. You got the good quarterback coming in. You think he stays?
I do. I think he stays for at least 1 year. He doesn't want to sell him out and look like the type of coach that's just following his kid around.
Yeah. Is Shedeur going to be the number 1 pick, you think?
No. Not now. Giants tanked it.
We'll talk about it later. So, all right. So, yeah, I just, and then other couple games that were there in Nebraska, Dylan Rowley, is he going to make the jump? He was the number 1 quarterback coming out with Lagway. Nebraska goes 7-6. They've been looking to finally change the map. I think maybe they're going to be a better team next year. He'll only get better. Started every game as a freshman. You got to be impressed with that. Winning record. They beat Boston College without their quarterback. And then UConn beats UNC.
Yeah.
Belichick era has officially begun in North Carolina. So those 2 things to keep an eye on next year, a new coach and then a star quarterback coming in as a sophomore who started every game as a freshman.
Yeah.
So those are 2 teams I think to keep an eye on for next year.
And then a game that's going to validate the whole strength of schedule stuff. You got the Louisiana, what was it, Louisiana Tech?
Louisiana TCU?
And TCU game. Louisiana 10-4 against the 9-4 TCU. We saw what TCU cannot do without depth against a team like Georgia. Then you see what they do this year against a team that went 10-4.
10-3 actually.
Or 10-3. Yeah, the 4 is this loss, but 34-3. they didn't score until the fourth quarter.
Yeah, that was the New Mexico Bowl. I didn't tune into that one, unfortunately. I'm probably glad I did.
You know me, I had them all. I had every game.
Quick tidbits from the NFL, because they did compete with college on Saturday again, just like they competed with the NBA on Christmas. They competed with college on Saturday. Chargers blow out the Pats. Is Ladd McConkey like?
Oh,
he's uncoverable, man.
He's just like Cooper Kupp was those first couple of years coming in. Until people figure out how to cover his routes and stuff, he's going to keep beating teams.
Him and Brock Bowers have had monster years. Brock has broken every tight end rookie record. Tells you how good those two guys were for Georgia and why Georgia was so successful. Go back to McConkey and Bowers. Those guys are crushing NFL defenses as rookies. Chargers blow out the Pats, secure the playoffs. Rams survive the Cardinals. Wasn't really a good game. What's the deal with your boy Kyler? Is this, they got Harrison Jr. for him to throw to now? Is this team going to be relevant with him at quarterback? Is he? I know he's going to be back next year, but like, what do you think of what the Cardinals scored 9 points? Like,
I think he's too focused on playing video games. I don't know.
He threw for 321, and he had some good runs, and he looked good at times. But what do they need to be successful?
Coaching.
Back to coaching.
Yeah, because they've got the athletes around them. They've got some great running backs that have been through there the past couple of years. But Murray, and you need a coach that knows how to work with his style of quarterback, which means your backup quarterback ain't going to be able to work with this coaching staff. Yeah. It's going to be a strictly Murray designed game plan. And I think that worked for the first 2 years he was there.
Yeah.
He just couldn't win the big game when it came to playoffs or anything like that.
Yeah.
Now, I think they just need to do another revamp of coaching. There's lots of staffs that need to be revamped.
Well, watching like the Packers-Vikings game yesterday, the inconsistency of the NFC, watch out for the Rams to make a run. They're a world champion with a world champion coach. Puka and Cooper are really good. Like, Stafford is incredible to watch. I know they didn't show it in this game. A couple misses in the red zone. But, I mean, I'm just telling you this right here. I know they haven't been playing great, but they've been finding a way to win. You just never can doubt a world champion. They're going to upset somebody in the playoffs. They almost did Detroit last year. That was a really good game. Watch out for the Rams in the playoffs. The big game Saturday night. Holy cow, what a game it was. Kevin Harlan on the call. Joey B versus Bo Nix. Burrow, 400 yards, 3 touchdowns.
I actually had the Broncos winning this one too. Oh man, that overtime killed me.
Now the Broncos will play for their playoff lives next week, and so will the Bengals. But what a overtime game that was. Burrow, incredible. T. Higgins, Chase, both over 100 yards. Bo, I mean, the 60-yard ball in the air, the throw to Mims to tie the game. You cannot say enough about Bo Nix. That may be one of the best games of the year, I thought.
Oh yeah, and it made Bo look like he should have been probably Rookie of the Year. But then you got what happened in Washington last night.
So both teams are going to play for their playoff lives next Sunday.
No, or you mean these teams?
Yeah, the Broncos will play the Chiefs.
Yeah.
If they win, they're in, and the Bengals will be out. But here's what the NFL is so smart. They put the Bengals game on Saturday.
So the Broncos know or not at
yes,
time.
Because if you let the Broncos play before, then the Bengals the game means nothing.
Yeah.
So they put the Bengals game in front. And the Broncos will play the Chiefs, who have already clinched everything and home field.
Yep.
So they probably won't play Mahomes. So Carson Wentz will probably be the quarterback without Kelsey and all these things, playing the Broncos to see who makes the playoffs. And the Bengals, and I'm sure the Chiefs are like, if we lose, Burrow doesn't make the playoffs, because I don't want to play the Bengals right now. And I don't think anybody wants to face Joe Burrow on that offense.
Do you really want to risk a Broncos team with a player like Bo Nix having the opportunity as a rookie to have two rookies, because you're going to have Washington in there too?
That's the other side of the bracket.
It is the other side of the bracket, but do you really want to give the opportunity to these two teams to win a Super Bowl with a rookie quarterback?
Well, and again, I would be more afraid that, no offense to Bo, Bo's had a great year. I would be more afraid of Burrow, who's thrown for 8 straight games, 250 yards and 3 touchdowns, than I would Bo Nix. Bo is Johnny on the spot, man. I'll tell you what. He's what we all thought Johnny Manziel was going to be. And shout out to Bo. I don't think I've underestimated Bo every year, and he's proved me wrong every year.
Everybody has.
He looked incredible this year, and again, he can beat the Chiefs and go to the playoffs as a rookie. That's incredible. All right, we'll go through Sunday real quick. Eagles crush the Cowboys. Saquon goes over 2,000 yards. What an incredible season! He's got a chance to break Eric Dickerson's record this Sunday. We'll see if they play them, because they've clinched the playoffs and the NFC East title. But in the same minute, the Giants are thinking, we just watched Saquon run for 2,000 yards. They go and beat the Colts. Colts are now out of the playoffs, so that was a game the Colts had to win, and they give up the 1 seed. How is that? They can't even win when they want it. Like
or do they not want to win that 1 seed?
You want the 1 seed in the first pick so you can pick whoever you want to, or you can trade it away.
Yes, that's what I would think. You would want it just to trade at some point.
But the Giants' lock looks incredible. Neighbors, 171 yards receiving. They beat the Colts. They lose the 1 seed, and then they followed up and have to watch Saquon run for 2,000 yards. What a turn of events in New York. And
well, everybody knew how good Saquon was. Again, coaching. You let him get away from a staff like New York, see what he can do.
Well, our buddy Kyle, who's a big Giants fan, said that actually Saquon and Derrick Henry could have a kid, and he still couldn't run for 1,000 yards behind the Giants' offensive line.
Again, and
so
it
may be about the team, yes.
So, yes, it is definitely about the team and the staff in general.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing sometimes to see what some of these players do at other franchises.
It is very embarrassing. Speaking of Bucks, Mayfield dominates, keeps their playoff hopes alive.
Yep.
Dolphins win, keep their playoffs hopes alive. So we'll keep an eye on both those teams next week.
Surprising to me, actually, I expected the Packers to beat the Vikings.
Well, that was a little bit of a playoff preview. Both these teams will make the playoffs. They jumped out early, and the Packers scored 15 in the fourth quarter to make it close. They needed one stop. Darnold makes the play to Cam Akers to win the game. That's maybe a playoff preview, but yeah. What game do you like better? Do you like the game like the Georgia-Alabama game where one team takes the big lead and the other team comes back, or do you like the game that's the back-and-forth game?
I'm a defensive guy.
Okay.
I love that battle of it being either team throughout.
Yeah.
I don't want to see a 20-point lead and then just hope for a comeback.
Yeah.
Because then you're only cheering for one team at this point.
Yeah. So you like more like the game of the weekend, which I thought was the Falcons and
sure.
Falcons and Commanders. I almost said Redskins again.
Hey, you can. We're getting it back.
Back and forth, two rookie quarterbacks. What an incredible game. Jaden Daniels. I don't know what to say at this point. 127 yards rushing, 227 and 3 touchdowns. This guy is incredible. I know you got his jersey over there, repping over there. I mean, this guy is incredible.
Yes, and I have his future picks for being rookie of the year, all that stuff. I think that he could possibly prove next year to be MVP. I wish it could be this year, but you've got Bills quarterback,
Josh Allen.
Josh Allen. Then you got Lamar doing what he's doing, and then you got Mahomes
and Burrow
and
Saquon's run for 2,000 yards.
Right? Jeez.
It'd be a tough MVP vote this year, that's for sure.
It'd be impossible for him to get it this year because it's him and Bo for rookie, and I don't see either one of them being MVP. But if he keeps playing through playoffs like this, he is the best quarterback.
But I think to your point, has one player meant more for a team? That's what the MVP, I think, is. Who's the most valuable player?
I agree.
I think without him, Washington has sucked.
Oh, I agree.
With him, they're pretty damn good.
I agree completely, but I also would say that about Broncos as well because you saw they had a veteran in
Russell
Wilson last season, and he couldn't do half of what Bo Nix has done.
Yeah.
So I do think that both these quarterbacks are future MVPs for their teams.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool statement right there. Well, like I said, that was over 25, 30 games we just covered. It was probably our longest segment yet, but it was a lot to cover.
We had to cover 2 weeks, basically.
Yeah, and a big layoff, but incredible week of football all around. Like I said, Merry Christmas to all. Now it's time for New Year's. Now it's time for the picks, which I've been dominating. I went undefeated in the bracket. This is becoming too easy for me.
We'll take our break.
We'll take our break. Chance needs a break. Needs to get some more coffee. It was a long segment.
Out.
Yeah. We'll be back here for our picks.
All right.
Titan Tigers.